Today, we're going to be breaking down this awesome solo from West L.A, Fadeaway. But before we do, here it is straight from Jerry. Hey, Chris here. Welcome to the lesson. Today we're breaking down this awesome solo from West L.A. Fadeaway. It's from July 26, 1987, and it's just full of really gritty, kind of bluesy licks. I've broken this thing down into 5 smaller sections, so let's get right into it. I'm going to play the first one really slowly and then give some tips along the way. So to set this up, we're in this first position of A minor pentatonic, and we're going to start on the 7th fret of G with the bend. I'll play through this first section. It's about 4 measures, and then give some tips. Alright, so as you can see, there was that first bend on 7. We're going to go up, and basically we're bending from a D to an E, and then the index is going to hit an E on the B string. And, you know, another way you could approach that, if you don't want to hold that bend up, it is kind of tricky to do the other stuff while it's happening. You could just let it go after the B string. It sounds similar, but I like that wobble Jerry gets by just holding that bend a little longer. Okay, now moving on, now we've slid up into second position of A minor pentatonic, so we're kind of in this zone up here, and we're going to start with index on 8 of B. And one thing I would say there is if you really want to try to dial into the sound that Jerry's getting, he has this beautiful intonation where he sometimes bends a little bit, especially like on a minor third. A lot of times he'll bend a little sharp, like just the slightest, maybe like an 1/8 to a 1/4 bend. So here's that lick again. And then it kind of just resolves that little phrase back to A, which is on the 10th fret of the B string. Now picking up from there, we go back to a bend, kind of like we started, but this part is cool. He throws in a little modal kind of flavor, so it'll go like this. I love that. That has so much style to it, and like I said, a little modal flavor, which I'll explain now. So we're going to start out with just kind of a regular bend, kind of like we did before, almost like a Chuck Berry thing. Okay, then he goes. Now, when I'm talking about that modal sound, it's really coming from the note F being put into this situation. Think of it like this. If you're in that first position of A minor pentatonic, or really any position, but that's where we're at now, so I'll frame it like that. If you add the note F, which is right here, and there's another one up here, but he's doing it like this, that'll give you an Aeolian sound. If you were to do an F sharp, so use your ring finger on that string, that would be more of a Dorian sound. And really, you could simplify it like that. So if you did a lick up here, that would have like an Aeolian vibe. And if you went, that'd be more Dorian. So anyway, let me recap that from that bend on 7. That lick right there is so cool. I know there's so many things in this solo that I'm going to steal for my own playing, so that is just so awesome. And again, hear that little bend on the minor third, a little major. Moving on to section 2 now, we're going to start with the index on 5 of the D string. I'll play it first really slowly and then talk you through it. Where I just left off is going to lead us into the third section, but I'm going to go back and talk you through some of this stuff. So right out of the gate, this first little piece, actually the first 2 little pieces are an example of how you can take a rhythmic motif. In this case, it's going to go da 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 rest, da 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 rest. And he just plugs in different notes. We go. Now, the first one is more articulated because he's picking different notes for each rhythm. Da, da, da. And here we're going to bend. Da, da, da. So it's a bend up, bend down, pull off. Then another kind of Chuck Berry-ish bend from 7 of G up to 5 of B. And really, a lot of times, that's a function of trying to move into a different pentatonic position. So... Then we're going to do another kind of slide from 8 of B up to 10. And hopefully you can hear a lot of that little slight bending going on. It's got a lot of style to it. Now the signature kind of double pull-off move that Jerry will do is you're going to pick one time, in this case on 12 of E with the ring finger. And what you do is you pick that one note, pull off twice, and slide down. Then we're going to go to 10 of B and do the same move. We're going to pick once, double pull off, slide to the 5th fret, back to the 8th fret, same move, pick, double pull off, and slide to the 5th fret again, and then we hit the G string. Then he does this really cool sort of major version of it. 9 of G, pick once, double pull off, and then the 7th fret of the D string. So when you put that together, and then picking up from there, more of a bluesy lick. And like I said, that's going to shift us into the third section. I'm going to go from this pull-off thing and put all that together. It's really fun. It's a great practice in coordinating the hands and just working out some timing. Okay, now this is where the rest of the band is going to start playing a B7, and then eventually they're going to go to an E7, so keep that in mind. We're going to pick up on the 9th fret where we left off. We're going to pick that note twice. I'll play this third section and then give some tips along the way. And that'll lead into the 4th section. But let's look at some stuff going on there. So, yeah, the rest of the band is playing a B7 here. And now Jerry's going to break outside of more of this kind of blues scale and pentatonic stuff he's been doing and throw in a little B7 arpeggio. And it's so awesome. So pick 9th fret twice with the ring finger. And then we slide down. This note that we end up on is the major third of the E7 that we're playing. But I just want to give some, maybe some pointers on this thing here. That right there, if you can just kind of get used to, I'm sure you guys play around with, that diagonal shape. He's just throwing the flat 7 in there. And there's so much you can do with it. Like instead of starting on the root, like if you want to improvise a little bit, maybe start on the 5th. There's so much that you can do with that. And I love this part. And then a lot of times, this is kind of a Jerryism that he'll do, is this move where, you know, you go from elements of the triad, and then he'll walk down from the tonic of the chord down to the flat 7. And then in this case, it leads to the major third of the E7, which is the next one. So let me do that again. Now we hit the root of the E chord. That's what's happening with the rest of the band. And then this bend again. And then this kind of familiar lick that we've seen a couple times. Now we're going to slide up 10 to 12 with the A string. And then this kind of bluesy lick. So it's a lot of sort of like copy and paste stuff. So if you look at it, he's starting a lot of those licks on the note D, and you can always find an octave. You've got a note here, you can go down a couple strings, a couple frets up, and then you can reproduce it. And you can do that either way. But that's what he's doing here. So he's using it as a way to kind of launch up into a higher zone and kind of build up the peak of this whole thing. And that's where we're going next. So picking up from there, I'm going to play the 4th section and then give some tips along the way for that as well. So here we go. 14 to G. I'll leave it right there. There's where we're going to kind of get into the last section. But this main thing, or this main theme that happens right here, is going to start with this kind of pentatonic box up here. You know, on the 12th fret, it's kind of centered around. Ring finger on 14 of G, which is the note A, which is our kind of root. And again, that little bend. Then we're going to end up doing a big bend on 15 of B. Like that. And then so let me do that that second little bit again. Then up to 13. Walk up from 14 to 16, so 14, 15, 16. 16 is going to be the first note of the next section. And now what happens is we're going back to the change where, again, the rest of the band is playing a B7. But this time, just to talk you through what's going to happen before I play the lead part, we play a B7, but instead of just going to an E7 like we did last time, what we do is we go to an F9 and then in E7 after that. So there's just one extra chord in there, and you'll see as it comes up here. So let's pick up from the walk up from 14 of G. And then we end on this really awesome blues lick. Let me talk you through that stuff. Okay, so if you can kind of picture a B chord with a like a bar chord, like an A string style bar chord, Jerry's working like the top part of that. If you can see it like that, it helps just visualize it a little bit. But he puts a little of that kind of bluegrass flavor into it with this thing like this. We're going to go, again, with the pickup. We hit the 5th. And then this really funky move where we walk down to 13 with a half bend, and you can pick that twice like that. But let me break that down. Like I said, you're going to hit the 5th, the minor third bending up. That's a great little... That's a really cool sound. You can definitely add into the toolkit if it isn't already there. So just whatever chord you're playing over, picture that kind of bar chord shape, and then you can use that as a sort of a frame and he's walking up to it. So here we go again. Now, instead of bending from 15, he goes to 14, and then a pull off with this bend on 13. Now, remember that we're going to this sort of F9 chord, and Jerry's going to hit the note F, and then the fifth of F. So just imagine like that shape now. A lot of it is kind of chord based now. Take that form, move it down to E, and then we're going to get the last little piece. When I hit those last couple 14s, that's when we're back to A minor. We do this 2-note bend, which is really cool. Index on 5 of E. The ring finger is going to bend from 8. And basically what you're doing is you're bending from a whole step under up to an A while the other finger's holding an A. And you get that awesome wobble. And then this classic blues scale to cap it off. And what's really striking to me about that last little piece is the way that he bends the 5th fret on a couple of the strings. It's got this really cool, wobbly, gritty sound to it. Thanks for hanging with me. I hope you enjoyed that and got some stuff that you can steal away and kind of pluck out and apply to your own improvisation and kind of make it your own. That's always my hope with this stuff, is we can take his language and kind of make it our own. That being said, if you have any questions about anything, or if you have a solo you want to see a lesson on, don't hesitate. Leave a comment, let me know. I've got some fun stuff coming up. I've got an Eyes of the World coming up that I'm going to do. He's Gone, Dark Star, China Cat. So I got some really fun stuff for you guys. Please subscribe, hit the like button if you don't mind, and I'll see you soon. Thanks.